Hey there, happy Friday to you. Let's make sure, as usual, we're coming through okay. Alrighty. Okay. Any other? Hopefully you can see me okay. Apparently I have too many tabs open, which I don't know about any of you, but that's the story of my life. So hopefully we're still coming through okay. Um, we're talking about email marketing today, which was inspired by the global Facebook outage this week, which was pretty remarkable. Um, if you can see me, it looks like we have a couple people joining in. If you can see me and hear me, okay, will you just give me a thumbs up? They're telling me I have too many. I have a couple tabs open, but it looks like we're coming through okay. So, this is going to be more of a Q&A style session. I posted a question earlier this week about some of your questions around email marketing, got some great ones. And so I want to just be able to address those. So I've broken up what we're talking about today into sort of three big categories. So first is the strategy behind email marketing. I want to make sure we all have a really good understanding of that. And how to decide if this is even something you should do in your practice. Then the tech and the setup. I know that can feel a little bit overwhelming, and by the sounds of some of the questions I got, that's sort of where some of the hangups are. So hopefully I can answer any questions and alleviate at least some of maybe the tech overwhelm around that, because I promise it doesn't have to be super hard. And then the actual execution of them, what you need to keep in mind as far as the content goes, and how to grow your list and all of those kinds of things. So if you're joining me live, you have the benefit of joining me live and asking questions, posting comments, that kind of thing. Thanks for those thumbs up. Sounds like we're doing okay. So the reason that we're talking about this today, like I said, we're inspired by the Facebook outage, and that got some clinicians thinking about if they rely on social media too much. I think got most business owners thinking that a little bit. And of course, Facebook is back up. Facebook is most likely not going anywhere. But it's worth remembering that when we are dependent on a third party to grow our business, to find clients, for people to know about us, we're putting our potential success in the hands of someone else. And so the idea of using social media or any other platform like, Psychology Today or something like that is the main channel for growing your practice. You're just hoping that doesn't become obsolete, doesn't somehow go down forever and ever. All of these things are sort of like doomsday type situations, but it's still worth considering. And so email marketing is so powerful because you own your list, and you have a lot more control over who you're talking to, how often you're talking to them, the percentage of people that are actually seeing what you have to say. You're not at the mercy of a social media algorithm. On Facebook, if you make a post, the algorithm will only show it to about 6% of people that like your page. So even if 100 people like your page, only 6 of them are going to see it. Whereas with email marketing, you can have open rates upwards of 20, 30, 40% of people that are seeing what you have to say. So that's why it can be really, really powerful. The other cool thing about email marketing, because you own your contacts, is that it provides a lot of flexibility when it comes to scaling your practice. If you have something like coaching or consulting on your horizon, or something on your radar, something that you'd like to grow into eventually, the beauty of having an email list is that it's a lot more flexible in that way. You'll have this community of people that are interested in what you do, that view you as an expert. And so if you choose to start using your skill set in a different way, you have an audience to work with. You don't have to start from scratch. So that's a really, really nice way that email marketing can benefit you and your practice in general. There's 3 main things I want you, if you're thinking about why email marketing might matter, or if it's something that you're interested in doing. I want you to understand there's 3 main purposes of email marketing. The first is to build relationship and familiarity with your practice, and your name. It's your opportunity to get to get in front of your ideal client, to be in their inbox on a regular basis, for them to become familiar with your name, to become familiar with you as a clinician, your personality, and your voice. It's a really, really powerful relationship building tool. It's also one of the purposes of email marketing is to lower barriers. When someone decides to reach out to a therapist, they have identified that the problem that they're facing is significant enough that they want some support to overcome that, right? So if they start on this side of that journey, they've identified a problem, this is reaching a therapist, they have to get over some barriers. Those barriers might be stigma, those barriers might be overwhelm of finding one, those stigma might be feeling like no one's going to understand them or be an expert in the problems that they're facing, all kinds of barriers. Email marketing is one of the ways to lower that barrier, to make that barrier shorter so that they can cross it sooner. I hope that makes sense. So lowering barriers, answering the questions, speaking to the concerns or the things that are keeping them from reaching out, helping them sort of guide them to the decision of reaching out to a therapist, whether that's you or someone else. So that's kind of the second purpose here. And then the third purpose is to establish yourself as an expert. That's one of the coolest things about email marketing is that you can show off your expertise on a regular basis so people come to trust you and realize that you know what you're talking about. And it's an easy way, again, to get in front of those people, to build that relationship and to say, oh yeah, and by the way, I know what I'm talking about. So here's something valuable. It's positioning you as someone who knows what you're talking about, wants to help, and can help, so that if and when they're ready to actually sit down with a therapist versus just read your emails, you're the person that they think of. So those are kind of the three purposes of email marketing. If you're wondering if this is the right strategy for you, like I said, super useful if you want to scale outside of the therapy room one day. That's one of the biggest reasons I suggest investing in email marketing, if that's a direction you want to head, just because you'll have that audience available to you to market to and to grow and nurture in a different way and with different offers if you choose to do that. You also need to be committed to some sort of consistency. There is nothing worse than signing up for an email list, not hearing from them until they want to sell you something. If you've ever done that, that's been a really, if you have ever had that experience, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You probably unsubscribed and you most likely did not buy whatever that person was, trying to sell you. And I'm not saying that you're going to be landing in people's inbox trying to sell yourself, but we want to foster relationship on a consistent basis. We want to build that familiarity on a consistent basis. And so I strongly recommend that if this is something you choose to do in your practice, you're committed to sending out an email, creating content at least once per month, if not twice. In my business, hopefully if you're on my email list, you get an email generally about once a week. So you could up the frequency to even that. But definitely at least once a month in order for it to be effective. So that's sort of the strategy behind this. Now, there were a lot of questions around, like I said, sort of the tech and the setup, which I'll talk about, and then creating the content, right? Actually making this happen. So, like I said, if I'm covering any of this and you have questions, drop them into the comments, but let's talk about the tech. There's 4 main things that need to be set up in order for your email marketing to be successful. The first is a platform, somewhere where someone is going to, when they fill out a form on your website or whatever, their email is saved into, and then you have that email to do things with. So it's inside of your email platform that you will schedule emails, that all of your email addresses will be found. It's where everything is stored. It's like a database. There's also the beauty of email marketing being as popular as it is that all of these platforms are becoming more and more sophisticated. And so you can even create landing pages and things like that through your platform. But the main thing is it's where your email addresses live, and it's what you'll use to contact those email addresses. So the 2 that I recommend looking into if this is something that you choose to do is ConvertKit and Flowdesk. So those are both are going to help you, are extremely user-friendly, are really, really keen on creating like a professional, clean, like aesthetic, like design-wise. Those ConvertKit and Flowdesk are both really, really nice, and are low cost to free, at least as you get started. Most email platforms will charge by the number of contacts you have, and so it's only when your email list starts to grow super significantly that the cost can become significant. When you're just starting out, it doesn't have to cost much, if anything at all. So ConvertKit, that's all one word, or Flowdesk, F-L-O desk, all one word. Those are the 2 platforms I would suggest looking into. So that's the first thing that you're going to need. If you want to do email marketing, you have to do that. You can't just, expect to send these things via your Gmail or something like that. You will need some sort of automated system. That is going to include things like unsubscribe links, helping you be compliant for privacy and GDPR reasons, all those kinds of things. Just trust me, you need an email platform. So decide on that. Next, you're going to need some sort of way for people to sign up, right? And so in the content section, the end part of this training, we'll talk about what that is that they're going to be downloading or receiving from you, but you have to have a way to capture their information. So that's either going to be a landing page on your website, maybe dedicated to a resource you're offering, or promoting a sign up, maybe a form on your homepage. It could be multiple things. You can have a bunch of different ways for someone to sign up for your email list, but somewhere you need a form where someone can put in their first name and their email, and that be saved into your platform. Like I said, if you're not super tech savvy on your website, you through both ConvertKit and Flowdesk, you can create a landing page that you can send people to where it'll save that information. But somewhere we've got to have a way for people to type those things in, right? So that's the second part of your tech and your setup. The third part is some sort of automation, and I think this is where people start to get a little bit overwhelmed. An automation is simply a sequence of events that happen when someone signs up for your list. So I'm Anna, and I visit therapyinnashville.com, and they have a really cool resource that looks interesting to me. So I type in my name and my email, and then I'm entered into an automation by their email platform, and that automation sends me an email right away with a link to download and welcoming me, letting them know who they are and what they do. And then 2 days later, I'll get another email letting me know, what their areas of specialty are, and then the third email I'll get a couple more days later with some more information and some links to some popular blog posts. That's an automation. And you can absolutely create this, no tech genius required, inside of either of these systems. It's basically a trigger, so it's triggered by someone signing up, and then it handles all of that for you. You don't have to press send, on everyone that's signing up for you. So that's an automation that you're going to want set up. And then they're called campaigns, broadcasts. Those are just individual emails that you start sending out. So after they are welcomed into your email list, they receive the download, you introduce yourself, then you can start sending just regular emails. If you get emails from me, I send out emails on Wednesdays with helpful tips. This week I talked about why you're not getting clients. That was a campaign. So you have been through my welcome series. You're getting a little look behind the curtain here. So if you signed up, you received my checklist, and then over the course of about a week, you go through my welcome series, and I help you get to know me a little bit and show you what I know and offer some helpful tips, and then you start to receive my weekly campaigns or broadcasts. So those are the emails that you're going to send out on a regular basis that are really important to commit to on an ongoing basis if you want your email marketing to be effective. Those are the 4 parts of tech that you're needing. So let's see, Colleen has a question here. Do you find that built-in email marketing apps for websites are much more limited than separate things like ConvertKit? I do. Kayleen, the one thing I want you to think about as you're considering email marketing is planning for the future. While yes, there may be simpler systems built into something like Wix, built into something like Squarespace, I want you to market as the therapist, business owner that you want to be 1 to 5 years from now, not necessarily who you are right now, which does mean likely investing in something more sophisticated like ConvertKit. Even if it's free right now, building this now, even if it's in the beginning stages of email marketing, you will be grateful for later as this grows, and especially if you plan to scale outside of the therapy room. So I hope that's helpful. I do recommend going with some other separate platform that specializes in this. They all make it very, very simple to integrate into your website, whether you're built on Squarespace, WordPress, whatever that is. They will have documentation about okay, how do I put a form on my Squarespace site or that kind of thing. So they've all made that really, really simple. Any other questions as you're watching around the tech part of email marketing that I can answer? I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this. If I can do it, anyone can. Okay, I'm not seeing any come in. So let's talk about the content side. So I've referenced, some sort of email or some sort of resource that they're downloading. Really, what the very first thing that you need to be thinking about for email marketing is what the heck is valuable enough for someone to give me their email. These days, we all get a lot of emails, right? It's got to be pretty compelling for someone to want to subscribe to your list. If you just say, register for my weekly newsletter, no one wants your newsletter. That's not valuable to them. So we have to create something that's valuable to them. Again, if you think back to the purposes of email marketing, this is an opportunity for you to show that you know what you're talking about, right? To lower barriers. So my suggestion here is for you to think on what this resource should be. Usually this is in the form of like a downloadable PDF. It could also be a video. It can come in a lot of different forms, but it's something that you offer in exchange for the email that someone puts in. For me on my website, that's the therapist website checklist. Over, 5,000 therapists have received it, gotten good feedback. I keep sending it because it works, right? So you find what is interesting and compelling and speaks to the ideal client that you serve. A couple ideas would be something, if there are if you are known for mindfulness or, somatic psychology, anything like that, and you have some grounding exercises or some tips for how to reduce anxiety from your desk. If your ideal client is a working woman who experiences anxiety at work, there you go, that's compelling. So ask yourself, what's something that I have helped my ideal client with in the therapy room before that I could package up into a resource? So that's one idea. Another idea, if you would like to more quickly convert this person, is something directly related to signing up for therapy. So an example for that would be how to know, or 5 signs you're ready for couples therapy, or how to know if you're ready to go to couples therapy, or 5 signs an anxiety therapist could help you. These are, you can see how this is like directly related to them signing up for therapy, whereas the first example I offered, 3 grounding exercises, is bringing in someone that maybe isn't quite ready to sign up for therapy but wants to stay in touch. So this comes down to what your approach is and how you want to grow this audience. You're probably gonna get more people signing up for 3 grounding exercises than you are how to know if you're ready to go to couples therapy, but people that download how to know if you're ready to go to couples therapy might turn into clients more quickly. So that's what I kind of want you to think about, is like, okay, how can I show off my expertise and lower some barriers? And then where in sort of the journey of deciding to go to therapy do I want to meet my ideal client, if that makes sense? So again, this is planning a little bit ahead, right? This is thinking about the therapist I want to be and the practice I want to have and the business I want to have moving forward. What would be useful as far as bringing in that person and starting to build a relationship with them? So that's the first thing, creating something valuable enough to your ideal client that they're willing to exchange in exchange for, give their email in exchange for. And then it's through that automation we talked about that you're going to deliver that resource. It's on the landing page we talked about, or through that form that they're going to enter their information where you can promote that resource. So maybe there would be a landing page of your website, how to know if you're ready to go to couples therapy, download the free resource below. It'll be sent, to your inbox right away. They enter their information, and then ConvertKit, Flowdesk, whatever you use takes care of that. So that's the very first thing I want you to think about. And a lot of times I will land on a therapy website where there's just a sign up form at the bottom and I don't really know what I'm subscribing for. You have to ask yourself, like, does my ideal client care about this? Are they compelled to sign up for my weekly newsletter? We all get way too many emails. It has to be valuable to them. So think about what you could put out there, what you could put together that would establish your expertise and ultimately be valuable to them. So let's see. A couple questions coming in. Okay, Katie, can you say more about the HIPAA compliance needs of email marketing? Absolutely, Katie. So when someone registers for your newsletter on your website, they are not a paying client and they are not covered. Well, let me caveat this by, I am not a HIPAA or ethics professional, so I always recommend that you vet these things with someone who is. However, someone who signs up on your website and gives you their email is not a paying client of yours and is not bound to the same, you are not bound to the same HIPAA compliance guidelines as if they are a client. If and when they become a client, you have 2 options. One, you just remove them from your marketing list, or you include something in your intake information where they have to basically agree to be on the list. Of course, it is incredibly critical, and I know that you know this just as a well-rounded, smart clinician that there should never be anything referencing individual clients, anything like that in the emails that you're sending out. The emails are more about you and your expertise, not the work you're doing in the therapy room. Hopefully that goes without saying. But what's important there is that that your existing clients who are covered by, HIPAA and are bound to confidentiality and have rights to that are not receiving the emails or not included in that list if they have not yet agreed to it. That is the best practice I have seen in the research I've done regarding this. Audrey wondering about video embeds. Do you embed or do you have to link? So you can't embed videos into emails, but you can do a screenshot or a GIF that when you click on it, it leads to the video. But unfortunately, that's just across the board. You're not able to play a native video inside of an email. Working through Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. Email marketing is still one of the most important aspects to having your market strategy. Amen, Brent. I'm a big Donald Miller fan. I'm glad you're working through that. Sydney, how do we know what will be effective to get signups? Once we figure that out, how do we know what should be in our email sequence? Great question. You lead me directly into the next point I was going to make. So as far as how to know what's going to be effective, that's up to you and testing, right? So you might find something like I've had my therapist website checklist for, a year and a half maybe, because I found that it, has been useful for people. So it might take a couple rounds of trying and seeing what is compelling to people, but ultimately it just comes down to what's something that I know is going to be valuable to this person, and then what language do you put around it that compels them to sign up. So I think that's more of just a testing thing. I can't give just like a blanket statement on what's going to be effective. Simpler is better, and something that speaks to the pain points that have brought them to you, to your website, to your landing page, is what's ultimately going to convert them, and they will be compelled to fill in their email. Now, as far as what should go in your welcome series, I recommend that this is 3 to 5 emails. So the first one is automatically just going to deliver the resource, right? We talked about that. So as soon as they sign up, that'll be fired off to them. And in that, you can do a short overview of, what they're going to get out of that resource and maybe introduce yourself a little bit. And then I suggest 2 to 4 days later, send another one where you offer something else valuable. I think it's really, really important that you establish yourself as an expert prior to making any significant calls to action. Because again, this is first about relationship. This is first about just connection, not about converting them into clients. That's like a secondary benefit of email marketing. You'll notice that wasn't one of the main purposes I talked about. This is about fostering connection. So use another email to maybe offer another grounding exercise, or something that you've seen work recently with clients that might be relevant to them. But again, staying in the same sort of theme as whatever your resource was about, kind of continuing to build on that. So some sort of email where you offer an exercise or a suggestion or a resource that would be helpful. Maybe you've written a blog post or a couple of blog posts on something like that. That would be helpful to send, something that establishes you as an expert. And then after that, share what you do. We can't expect people to, reach out to you for a free consultation if they don't know that a free consultation exists. So don't shy away from suggesting that, because it's very possible that this person is looking for that kind of support. So offer an email where you talk about, your areas of expertise, and let them know that a free consultation is always available to them and that they can click this link to schedule it. Boom. Something like that, where you just let them know that, hey, this help is here. And then let them know that, on a regular basis, I'm going to send out, additional helpful resources, things that I've seen work with my own clients, in hopes that you'll find them useful. And then you can just sort of remind them of that call to action on a semi-regular basis through your campaigns or broadcasts that you send out. I always suggest that you encourage some sort of next step. So whether that's a free consultation or follow on social media or check out these blogs, we want to continue the journey. Don't let the journey stop here in the Welcome series. Tell them what to do next. Maybe that's scheduling a free consultation. Maybe that's join me on Instagram, where I offer, tips like this every Wednesday. Whatever that is, just invite them into the next step to continue to foster that familiarity and that relationship with you. I hope that was helpful, Sydney. Let's see what else we got. All right, I didn't see any others come through. Now, the 2 other things I'll talk about as far as execution are those ongoing campaigns and broadcasts that we talked about. So I saw some questions, and I love that you guys are thinking about this in regards to content pillars. Or, how do I decide what to write on a regular basis? And I understand that the idea of creating content on an ongoing basis can feel really, really daunting. It might be why you've never done something like social media or blogging, and all of a sudden here we are, email marketing, another reason you have to create content. So a couple suggestions I'd make there. One, if you are blogging, if you are on social media, you do not have to create the wheel with your email marketing. You can talk about similar things. You can repurpose content in multiple places. You do not have to create something that is a unicorn for every single area of your marketing. In fact, it's actually way smarter for both you and your time and bandwidth and the experience that your client has to reinforce ideas. And so if you're doing any sort of content creation currently, that can be applied to your email marketing. If I do a live inside of this group on multi-state marketing, you might get an email on multi-state marketing too, and I might talk about multi-state marketing in the group. And all of a sudden, multi-state marketing starts to become this thing that we're talking about that you're feeling more confident in. You can do the same thing with your clients. Now, as far as creating content pillars or buckets, topics that you can be writing on, I recommend that you align those to your different focus areas or specialty areas as a clinician. That may be, you might specialize in anxiety, grief, and trauma. Then kind of making sure that you're addressing each of those content themes on a regular basis. It could be different age groups that you work with. It could be different approaches that you take, but I just recommend sort of thinking about the different buckets that the work that you do falls into, that your expertise falls into, and then writing naturally to those types of things, putting together a couple of tips or things that are valuable around that. If you have an existing blog and you already have sort of a backlog, not a backlog, but existing posts out there, feel free to offer those on a regular basis and to drive people back to older blog posts. That's smart. Just keep in mind that you do not have to recreate the wheel when it comes to what you're sending on a regular basis. Sydney, yes, that was helpful. I'm almost full in my private practice, was looking to do one-to-many products. Is it okay that my opt-ins and email sequences lend more towards courses instead of them booking a one-on-one session? So that is something, Sydney, that I would recommend checking on. I do know that those clinicians that choose to scale outside of the therapy room from an ethics perspective are usually suggested to promote them separately. So to have a separate website dedicated to your coaching or that kind of thing. So I'm not going to speak into that just because I don't know the specifics of your situation. But in general, is it okay that your resources drive to the thing that you're ultimately wanting to build? Absolutely. And I love that you're thinking about it that way. Julie, should I put a link or something up on my Facebook page, sign up for a resource? Absolutely. So that's the next thing I was going to talk about, Julie, is growing your list. Okay, so you have all these things set up. How do you actually get people onto your list, right? That's a whole other animal. So yes, wherever you are active, social or active marketing wise, if that's social media, if that's networking, whatever that is, share it, right? This is another way that you are offering value to the person that follows you or that knows about you. If you're in a networking conversation with someone who has, who deals with, anxious kids on a regular basis, maybe you say, hey, I actually have a really great resource for that. Go download, 5 ways to support your anxious child on my website. So talk about it. Let it become a natural part of your marketing. And yes, absolutely promote it on a regular basis inside of things like your social media. Make sure you're talking about it on your website and making it available there. But yes, that is absolutely something that you should be doing. Okay, we have covered the strategy, we've covered the tech and setup, we've covered the execution. What other questions do you have as you are thinking about email marketing for your practice? Have I covered the main ones? I'm not seeing anything come through, so hopefully that's a good sign. Absolutely, Brent. Thanks for being here. My pleasure. I love email marketing. I'll tell you, it's been huge for my business. This Facebook group is a really wonderful, it's my absolute favorite part of what I do, and I would be so sad if Facebook became obsolete and this wasn't here anymore. But I do have an active, thriving email list too that has been a really great resource for creating connection with people, and ultimately, becoming, a part of your practice. like booking services and that kind of thing too. So I definitely encourage you to explore this. It's not right for everyone. Don't feel like just because we're talking about it, you have to do it. If you've been around here for any length of time at all, you know that I'm a huge believer in less is more. And that if something doesn't feel right to you, maybe it's not right now, maybe it's not right at all, and that's okay. There is no one-size-fits-all way to build your practice, and it's okay if email isn't the right fit right now or ever, but hopefully this gave you enough information that you can kind of evaluate that for yourself. So if you're catching the replay of this and you have some questions, feel free to drop them into the comments. I do still get notifications about that. Just do a hashtag replay so that I can see anything that pops up. I'm happy to continue chatting with you about this, but I appreciate all of you. Let's see. I've got a couple more. Sydney James, another question I have is around sales for things like Black Friday. How do you go about that? Is that in an email sequence too? So Sydney, those would be in a set of campaigns or broadcasts. So those kind of one-off emails, just scheduling them, to go out at a certain cadence around that Black Friday deal. I hope that's what you were asking. Julie, what's a magic sweet spot for sending emails out? I don't know if maybe you mean the frequency of them. Like I said, I think once a month is the absolute minimum. If you can't commit to that, I recommend not implementing this in your practice quite yet, because we want to make sure that you are not showing up in people's inbox and they're like, who the heck are you? I think that twice a month or every other week is probably a little bit more strategic, just so that people, again, you're building that familiarity and people remember you and your name. Brenna, I'd love to chat with you. Feel free to head to walkerstrategyco.com and you can schedule a free strategy session with me. I'd love to hear more about what you're thinking when it comes to working with therapists. I know you've got some cool skills to offer. So, all right, friends. Thanks for joining me today. It's fun to do this kind of more Q&A style. Please let me know if this was helpful. If you have more things you want to chat about, you know where to find me. But I appreciate each of you. I'm sure glad Facebook is back, and good to be back with you guys, get to do something like this. So I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you for the next training.